So welcome to another episode of I Am Jen Wilson podcast, and today I have got Karen Allan on the call with me. So welcome to the podcast, Karen. How are you today?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good, very good. So you were recently, well, recently I say, fairly recently at a workshop that I had run, and when you were there, I was like, I know this girl from somewhere else, and it turned out that years ago, way back when I first started teaching Pilates, you had been along to one of my courses back then as well, and just kind of been connected on social media because I knew that we had been chatting on social media, but I didn't connect it to you being that person that was at my Pilates course all those years ago.
Yeah, 2013 that was.
It doesn't feel like that long ago.
No, it doesn't.
And here we are at 2020, the strangest year
Yeah,
of my lifetime.
me too. And I've had some strange years.
mm, yeah. So why don't you start off by introducing the listeners to who you are and what it is that you do in this world?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Karen Allan. I'm a holistic therapist. I've qualified in Reiki, crystal healing, and I'm currently studying reflexology, which I just love. It's just amazing. And also studying to be a druidess, which is like a Celtic priestess. So we just kind of learn like kind of psychic skills, numerology. We're doing a bit of astrology just now, which blows my mind. I didn't realise it was so complicated. And yeah, just a bit of all the magical things. So yeah, really
I
good.
mean, what got you into that?
Well, it's a girl I used to go to for holistic therapies. She's always been very intuitive, and then I just started doing courses with her, and then she'd done this druidess one, and I was like, I have to do it. So yeah,
That is
exciting.
that is amazing. It's always good when you just stumble across something that
Hmm.
totally encapsulates you, and you're like, oh my god, I want to know more about that. What's your favourite
Yeah.
part of all the things that you are doing or learning just now? What's your favourite part?
Um, I do really enjoy the energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're doing it, it's not kind of like standard Reiki. A lot of it we channel during it, so you can get like messages to pass on to people, and it's really beautiful. So yeah, I love doing that.
Yeah. Have you always had that skill, or is that something that you've like learned?
I have always been very intuitive. I think like an empath, like a lot
Mm.
of us are. So I could like walk into a room and know when someone's been arguing. It's always more the bad feelings, bad vibes that I would get.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, my dad was working away and we stayed in a tenement house in Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
And I woke my mum up. I was about 3, and I was like, Mum, the ladies, and I was pointing to them. And I remember seeing women standing like dressed in old clothing with like big knives. And my mum was just like, Karen, go back to sleep. And I can always remember that clear as day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose I've always kind of had it in me, but just learning how to properly use it now
Yeah.
is just amazing. So yeah.
Was there any other? Because no, sometimes they think that this kind of skill can be passed down generationally. Is there other people in your family that have got?
Um, well, my mum did see spirits and things when she was younger, and my grand's sister used to like tell fortunes and things, but my coach does believe that everyone's got it in them. They just need to
Mm,
reawaken it.
yeah, yeah. Because I've read things that say that particularly small children, before the ego comes into play,
Hmm.
that small children can see things and feel things and sense things, and it's just like maybe if they're nurtured in a particular way, it can help that essence, if essence is even the right word, it can help nurture that part of you so that
Yeah,
it grows.
yeah, it's amazing. I think a lot of kids born now, I think have these skills even further, and I really hope that they keep them and they don't get wore down by the world the way we did when we were younger.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to one of my friends recently, and we were talking about having children or not having children, and I had said to her, I was like, sometimes I wonder why people would want to bring a child into the world when it's as crazy as it is, especially with what's going on at the moment. But then when I look at every younger generation, they're more awake and more intuitive and have a better understanding of things than I did at their age. And it's almost like every wave that comes through is just a little bit more awakened. I don't know if that's just the nurturing that my generation gives their children and the generation down from that gives their children, and it's that learned, we need to stop being so ego driven because it's not working for us, and it's a slow unraveling, if you like, rather than it just being a click overnight kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely.
Yeah. And what about, do you have a teacher and a mentor? Is there anybody particular, or do you have like a whole host of people? Or
No, I work with her name's Maria Anderson. She's on Instagram as Art of a Priestess, and she's just amazing. She just blows my mind all the time.
How long has she been your teacher?
Well, I've been doing courses with her for about 2 years in total. It's actually working with her that made me discover I wanted to do holistic therapies. She was doing soul-based coaching with me, which she just kind of asked me questions and how that made me feel, and I said, like, I want to do something that makes my heart glow, and when I'm working with people, like, they'll leave me and their hearts will be glowing. And then it just came about with like holistic therapies. So yeah, she's just amazing.
That's fantastic. So what did you do before this?
So before that, I used to work in an office, which was not a very nice atmosphere. Just your kind of usual office where you're left, like, everyone's crammed into an open plan office, and I hated it.
You mean it didn't let your heart glow?
No. Definitely not. I worked in offices most of my 20s, but my mental health took a real bad turn at the end of, it was about 2016. So I tried to go back to work in the office again once I was feeling a bit better, and like my soul was telling me, like, no, this is not the right thing to do, and eventually I listened.
Yeah, I think when we see a lot of issues with people's mental health, I sometimes think that it's our souls screaming out saying you need to pay attention, because I know, like, with my health, if I ignore it, it's like a little pebble's been thrown at you, and you ignore it, and then all of a sudden the boulder comes and knocks you over. And I think that's very similar with mental health, because there's so many people that I know, when you talk to them and they don't feel fulfilled by their job, or they don't get out of it anything that feels nourishing to them. So when you have mental health issues, it's almost like that's your soul screaming at you, pay attention to me.
Because we're so busy nowadays, people don't listen to their bodies. They're constantly, like, on their phone, constantly their brain's engaged doing something. So our bodies do always try to signal to us and like show us that they're not happy, but yeah, we usually just ignore it. So I know I ignored it for a long time, and then it just erupted. So no, I agree with you, absolutely.
Yeah, and you were saying to me before we started recording that you had suffered from narcolepsy. Was that part of the mental health, or was that a trigger of it?
I think it was the trigger of it. So I was diagnosed with that in 2016, but I'd say the symptoms started from about 2014. So I was always really tired. I would go to the doctors. I don't eat meat, so they would just be like, your iron's low, like, take vitamins, all that sort of stuff. Then I lived in Falkirk and I worked in Glasgow, and I found I was driving to work and there was times on the motorway I could really feel my eyes closing, and I would kind of go to like blink and like open my eyes and be like, whoa. So I went to the doctor and told them, and they said, just keep your window open when that happens. And I was like, okay. So I still just thought, oh, it must just be, I'm just tired. And then I was driving back home to my house, and I was driving along the road, and I remember I was exhausted, but I thought, oh, I'm nearly home, it's okay. And I fell asleep. I crashed into some parked cars. But when it happened, I seen like this flashing light, which I think was my guardian angel at the time. I honestly do.
Yeah.
And my car went like into a pickup truck, and my whole passenger side was just crushed right in. And I got the biggest fright. But that meant the doctors then took it seriously. And they sent me to hospital to get like sleep tests and things done. So I think that happened for a reason, definitely.
Yeah. So narcolepsy is when you are just like drop asleep, kind of in the middle of something.
Yeah, it can be that, or sometimes when I was at work, you kind of go into like an automatic behaviour. So I could be sitting working on the computer on a spreadsheet, and I would still be moving my hands, and sometimes my eyes would still be open, but it's like my brain just went to sleep.
Right.
And then sometimes I'd come around and I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, totally messed the spreadsheet up.
Yeah.
It can also be that you don't sleep well at night time. And I used to have like really vivid dreams and nightmares, like a lot of audio hallucinations as well. Like lots of times I was convinced someone was trying to break into the house, and I'd wake my husband up and be telling him that. He's like, no, Karen, they're not.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was you're tired but you can't sleep, sort of thing. Yeah, so that just really got to like my confidence, especially when I couldn't get it diagnosed at first, just not knowing what was going on, because I was always someone that was on the go, like driving about places, going to see things, a bit of a party animal.
Yeah.
But I just like felt like I lost myself for a lot of time, and then I had to stay off. I had to like take leave from my work, and that just kind of seen me. I basically just sat on the couch for probably about 8 months until I got a diagnosis. So then I ended up putting on a lot of weight. I was turning to like sugary foods to try and get energy.
Yeah.
And just didn't have any energy to cook and things like that. So yeah, just really lost my confidence and things. Then when I got diagnosed, part of narcolepsy, you have something that you can have, it's called cataplexy.
Right.
And it's where your body thinks you're sleeping and it thinks you're dreaming. So all your muscles are inactive.
Yeah.
So it could happen, it's happened when I've been out with my dog. I've got a fright, and then my muscles, I just feel them going, and I'll just kind of flop down to the ground. And it's strange because you're conscious, but you can't move your body. It's horrible. That was also happening as well. So I just, even going out, I was always worried because it once happened next to a school, and all the little kids are like, what is wrong with you? And you can't speak. Like your speech is slurred, so people might think you're drunk as well. So it was awful, like when I didn't have that under control. But once I got medication, it took quite a while. as you know, like to get medication sorted, and then it's all the side effects from that. So yeah, it was a big journey, and I think my mental health was triggered from that, and also partly the side effects as well.
It would be for sure. Do they know what causes it?
Well, with some people it happened with the swine flu injections.
Right. Okay.
And with me, they reckon it's when I got glandular fever that happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, because quite often viruses cause other issues to then
Uh-huh.
occur in your body. So are you still on medication for it, or have you managed to get it under
Yeah,
control?
I'm still on medication. Like, I don't have to take all of it as much as I did. So I'm seeing my consultant this month, and I'm hoping to cut it down a bit more. But I manage it much better now. Just kind of like you were saying, my body will sometimes be like, okay, Karen, you're overdoing it a bit. And sometimes I'll be like, no, it's fine. And then you'll have a day in bed.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better at listening.
So do you still experience symptoms of the narcolepsy even though you're on medication? Like, can you still experience it?
I do. I can sometimes have the cataplexies if I've been overdoing it.
Okay.
And I'll usually go for maybe 2 naps a day, like 2 20-minute naps, and that keeps me kind of going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just when I ignore it, it will come back.
Yeah. And how was your sleep? Like before you got your diagnosis, were you getting full night's sleep and things like that? And this was just something that was coming in through the day, or was everything disrupted?
Yeah, everything was disrupted.
Yeah.
I was always such a good sleeper, like all my life up to my teenage years. And then we reckon I got glandular fever when I was 21. And then the narcolepsy symptoms started when I was 28.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was disrupted the whole time throughout waiting for the diagnosis.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be when you've got something going on that nobody is recognising to be able to get the diagnosis, and you've got the worry and the stress of that going on in the background, plus the condition itself. It's going to impact every element of it, like the stress, the cortisol levels and stress hormones will just be going out of control. And is it something that they think that you can be cured from, or is it considered once you've got it, that's you?
Yeah, at the moment they've not got a cure, but they've managed to replace the cells, so it's your orexin cells in your hypothalamus. They've managed to replace them in mice. So I'm hoping, like in my lifetime, that they'll be able to. But I've been doing like meditations, and I kind of visualize my brain like getting better. Because I actually met Dr. David Hamilton, and I was asking him, and he said to try doing that. So I've been trying to do that, because sometimes I do think to myself, did I manifest this? Like, because I kept on telling myself there's something wrong with me. But maybe a bit of both.
maybe because I don't know if you know of Anne Hughes. She's she does a lot of like spiritual work as well. I've had her on the podcast. So she had a brain hemorrhage, I'm going to say 4 years ago now. It might actually have been around the same time as I got diagnosed with Crohn's, and she ended up having to get like platinum put back into her brain, and like that she did a lot of visualization and a lot of work around her belief systems and how she was going to get better. A lot of the stuff that David Hamilton teaches. And she has, without her even knowing about that stuff in the background, that's what she instinctively did. And she has got functions back that they never thought for 1 second that she would ever be able to get back. And I've read all of David's books and I've followed his work, and yeah, the stuff that people can do, that the power of the mind is unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I think when my mental health was bad, the power my brain had over me then. And I think now that I'm managing to turn it around, just how powerful that is. It's something I never thought I would have been able to say.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's somebody that I was listening to had been talking about the power of positive mantras, and somebody had challenged them on it and saying, oh, how does that work? And they're like, well, think about all the times that you tell yourself you're not good enough, whatever it is that you want to believe, and how strongly you believe that. So why would it not work in the complete opposite? Like, it makes sense, but the brain, being queued up purely on survival, always looks for all those negative things and clings onto them, because that's what's going to keep you safe from harm, whether it's the repeat of somebody being unpleasant to you so that you can deal with that better, or what keeping you safe from being attacked, or whatever it is. Your brain's always looking for that. So we have to really consciously and proactively practice the positive stuff to help strengthen that part of the brain.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes, the old belief systems will try and come back in place, but it's just catching them out and not allowing them to take over.
Yeah. So do you have a daily practice or a daily routine of stuff that you do?
Yeah. Every day I'll journal and just kind of write out my reality of how I want things to be, or like say I'm doing a workshop, the number of people I want to come to it. I'll just kind of write that out, and then things that I'm grateful for, and then meditation. I just love meditation.
Yeah. What kind of meditation do you do? Do you have a
Well, I
favourite
used to
kind?
always have to use guided meditations, but now I've just kind of started doing ones where I'll like ground myself and then just connect to like the universe type thing. So it's beautiful. You just feel like you're in a big bubble of light.
Big bubble of healing light that's just here to protect you and save
Yeah.
you.
Like, I don't want to come out. I'll just stay in here. Thank you.
I know. I think it could be quite easy to slip into that. So I was listening to a talk with Eckhart Tolle, and he was saying that when he went through his awakening, when his ego self died, he went too far in the opposite direction, and then had to find a way of being able to live in that presence, but also actually being able to communicate with people so that you can have conversations with them, and not just be a way up here.
Yeah. He's amazing, isn't he?
I know. It's totally. I'm doing one of his online teacher trainings just now, and it's for teaching the practice of presence.
Wow.
And he's like, you've signed up for this course to learn how to do nothing. I'm like, it's so funny. Like, he just has this amazing humour, and the giggle that he has is brilliant.
He's just so calm as well, isn't he? He just speaks so calmly.
Yeah. And the good thing is, when he talks and people get to ask questions, and he says that for him it's still, although his ego did die off, he still has times where he has to check himself. It's like there is elements of him still having a practice and still being consistent with his practice. It's not once you get there then you can just forget it all and kind of walk away from it.
Yeah. That's actually quite good to know that, because you'd quite quickly think when you hear him, oh, he must just have such an easy life and just everything must be so simple. Well, not simple, but just he must see things from the good all the time and not be bothered about anything. But you forget that people are still human.
Yeah. As enlightened as you can be, if you live in this human world with other people, there's always stuff going on and challenges to do. So with the mental health part of your journey, what's been the biggest challenge that you've been able to overcome?
I got diagnosed with social anxiety, generalized anxiety, depression, OCD, and bulimia, which I had since I was about early 20s, but never realised it was a problem. And then I was lucky enough to get private therapy. When I was there, they were talking about you having something that you're guilty of and a guilty feeling and how you can't ever heal from it. And then my brain just suddenly went, like, that's a behaviour you've got that is like your guilty secret.
What is that, the bulimia or?
The bulimia.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So you had all, like, as far back as you can remember, you've had?
Yeah. I was always someone who was obsessed with dieting, like going to like Weight Watchers or doing like the latest rave daft, I shouldn't really say that, but Forever Living and stuff like that, just all the silly things.
I would let me say anything you like.
I would sign up for any diets at all, and I was always just, if I was in a group of girls, I was always comparing myself to them, and yeah, I think like a lot of women go through that, but and then I had a really bad like binge eating bulimia cycle, but I would always tell myself, no, this is the last time I'm going to do it, and it never was until I eventually went through therapy for it.
Yeah. Has there been a therapeutic approach that you found most beneficial?
I did find CBT helpful.
Yeah.
The therapist I had was very spiritual as well, so that helped. My social anxiety used to be like terrible. I couldn't even go into a supermarket without getting flustered at someone like looking at me. So they put me forward into group therapy to help with that. And I was like, hang on, you said I've got social anxiety. And they're like, and I'm like, group therapy? But the first time I walked into that, I could have ran out the door.
Yeah.
And then the spotlight went on me to talk, and I sat with my folder in front of my face, and I was shaking. And they were like, okay, we're just going to let your hormone, what is it called?
Your nervous system.
Your nervous system calm down, because it'll get to a peak and then it'll start to calm down. And I'm thinking, are you sure? Like, it doesn't feel that way. But it was that was probably one of the hardest things, because there was many times that I was in tears thinking, I'm not coming back to this. But it definitely did help.
And you did go back to it?
Yeah. Sometimes having to drag myself back to it, but yeah.
And I saw something on your social media recently that you've got like a course or a workshop or something coming on. So you've obviously got over your social anxiety if you're facilitating workshops now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about a wee bit about that? Because it sounds really interesting.
I know, because sometimes I'll tell the people that I met at the therapy, and they're like, wow, like, can't believe how different my life is now. Yeah. But yeah, I'm aiming a lot of my workshops on kind of body image and things like that, and belief systems, because my heart breaks every time I hear a woman complain about their body. All my friends just now are like, oh, I've put on weight over lockdown, and I'm like, please give yourself a break. We went through enough just now. Like,
yeah,
who cares? Like, it's only your body. Like, just if you want a bit of cake, have it, but also have some nutritious stuff. Also get out and go a walk. That's my answer to everyone. Like, get out in nature. Get out in nature. So really want to focus on talking about that, and just how the things that we believe aren't always the truth, and then just kind of work on some kind of journaling practices and stuff to kind of get people like being more grateful to their body and thinking about the things your body actually does for you instead of constantly filling your body with negative self-talk.
Yeah, I think it's really important to tap into all the good things that are happening, because it's easy if there's something going wrong in the body for you to focus all your attention on that and think that that's all your body does. But if you can bring your attention to all the bits that are working really well, or if you're in pain, the bits that are not in pain, and focus your attention on there, because it's where your attention goes, the energy flows kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's been able to help that. And you talk a lot about on your social media as well, like the feminine energy, and
Mm-hmm.
I saw you did like a wee altar thing with your yoni egg
Yeah,
and your crystals and stuff. Do you want to talk a
yeah,
wee bit about that?
yeah. So that's just kind of a new topic I'm talking about because, to be honest, it did fill me with a lot of fear talking about it. But I really want to talk about how women feel a lot of shame around things like that. And I think now we need to talk about it and realise that, like, women deserve pleasure. Women, there's nothing to be shameful about. And to realise actually how powerful we are. So that's something that I'm going to be talking more about. But when I thought about it, I was like, oh, my family members are going to hear, and just worrying about that. But I've got a message to get across, and I've got a mission, so I can't be worrying about other people.
Yeah. And somebody's going to see something that you've written or hear something that you're saying and think, yeah, I get that, or that's really useful, or
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've actually been surprised in a short amount of time the amount of people that do message things like that, and that makes my heart glow. I love it.
yeah, because you've posted quite a lot about your story and about having
Mm-hmm.
bulimia and the negative body, like self body image that you had, and you can see in the comments and stuff how many people respond to it, and it's really, we need more people on social media talking about this where it's their truth.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm actually enjoying seeing a lot of people doing that now. I don't know if it's because I've really cleared out what I see on social media, but because that's one thing I always say to my friends as well. Like, they'll be like moaning about some celebrities, and I'm like, don't follow the celebrities, just unfollow them. There's so many more interesting people to follow. So yeah, I just think it's so important to like diversify your feed with different body shapes, different coloured people, and just make sure you see as much variation as possible things so that you do kind of learn from other people. And I think sharing your story is so important as well, to just normalise things.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely thought that when I was first diagnosed with Crohn's, I was like, I'm going to have to share this story, because people had often said to me, oh, you've got it all together, you know exactly what you're doing. And I'm like, whose life are you looking at? Because that's not the life that I'm living. But obviously the message that I had been putting out, that's what people were interpreting from it.
Mm-hmm.
So then for me, being much more conscious about sharing my story, so when I was in struggle, sharing it, but trying to not do it from a place of being the victim and, oh, poor me, I want your sympathy. It's like, this is the reality of what this situation is like.
Mm-hmm.
Incontinence is a real thing. As a grown woman, nobody should ever have to shit themselves, but when you've got a bowel disease, that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes happens, and you can either get embarrassed about it, or you can just realise that that's the case that happens. Get your baby wipes out, clean yourself up, and move on.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think people being honest is just normalizes things and lets people see, like, oh, it's not just me that feels that way, or it's not just me that happens to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, definitely. So you're like this, what, I don't know what date this is. What date is this? This is the 8th of July. So this podcast will probably go out about the 20th of July, if that's a Monday. When is your next online course or your next online workshops?
Well, I'm kind of working on like central kind of chakra crystal workshop that might be kind of the end of July.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of coming through me just now. So I'm excited about that.
Sweet. And where is the best place for people to find out about that on
On
social?
my Instagram, I've got an Instagram and Facebook, but I don't know if I'll get rid of the Facebook at some point, but I just have my Instagram connected to my Facebook. So the vibe in Instagram is so much nicer and people just get it.
Yeah.
Whereas Facebook, I just don't know what goes on over there.
Yeah, I deleted my personal Facebook page, not page, my personal profile a couple of months ago, and have not for 1 second regretted it. And it took a lot of talking to myself about why I wasn't deleting it. And this was over a couple of years. So I remember saying I think it was a business coach a couple of years ago that I wanted to delete my Facebook account, and she was like, you can't do that because, you know, that's how people find out about your business on Facebook. And I was, at the time, I was like, but who says that? Facebook tells you that that's who it is. That's where you get all your stuff from. So I wasn't convinced. And then I would think, oh, but I keep in contact with family members, and oh, I've got all my photos on there, and I kept giving myself excuses. And then I downloaded all the photographs because I found out that you could do that fairly easily. Downloaded all the photographs, so I couldn't use that. And then it still took me about another 8 months to go in and actually click delete the account. And it was one day I went in and somebody had posted something, and when I saw the comments that people had written back to them about a question that I thought was fairly, that was a fair enough question in a group, and the people were attacking this person. You need to go and do your research, don't be so fucking stupid, blah blah blah. And I just thought, I don't want to read that because that's horrible. Like, people have just got no tolerance for people, and you see it a bit a lot in Twitter as well. But I really only use Twitter for getting up to date information on what's happening in the IBD community. And then there's a few other people I follow for entertainment purposes or whatever. So I do sometimes I'll get caught up scrolling through it and think, God, people are dead angry, but I don't get as emotionally connected to it as I did on Facebook.
Yeah.
But deleted Facebook and it was bye.
Yeah, it was, I think when coronavirus first happened and people started sharing like fake stories, and that's when I was just like, I cannot be doing with this. Like, and that's the thing, like, when you see the documentary that was on Netflix about like people seeing all this fake news and believing it, it really scares you because you're like, a lot of people I know do rely on that for their news. They rely on Facebook for their news, and you're like, no, it's not a good idea. So, and like you say, the negativity, like people just jump on each other, and it's just, there's no need for it.
Yeah. And then with the fake news things, there's some things that are fake news of the fake news. And then you get to a point where you're like, well, what is it? What is the truth then? Because this camp of people over here are like vehemently believing that this is true, and then other people are believing the opposite. And like that documentary that shows you how Cambridge Analytica was using data to be able to very specifically target lies and information to very specific people, and you're just like,
it's absolutely frightening. Like, even for someone just to have to see a headline, not even click on it, and it's imprinted in their brain, like, oh, it's horrifying.
Yeah, and even the people that think that that's okay to do, like the people that designed this facility to be able to do that, to be able to create that kind of manipulation, I'm just like, that's fucked up, man.
I know.
That is seriously bad news if that's the world that we're coming to.
I'm just waiting for the new world to happen that we're told about. Just waiting patiently on it.
What do you hope the new world looks like for you?
Well, community that supports each other, which I find we do have on Instagram, and I did enjoy the quietness of lockdown. I'm kind of like, even the less cars and stuff about, I was enjoying that.
Yeah.
I would like it to be like that, and just people, one thing I really hope that happens is people see the businesses that didn't look after their staff and start now to just use still use the local businesses and boycott the ones that weren't so supportive. But I did really truly hope in my heart that was going to happen. But now as lockdowns ease in, I'm like, no, it's just going back to normal.
Yeah, I think there are some people that have maybe realised, but there's, and you know, Eckhart Tolle talks about this, that when huge like stressful events happen, people either become more awakened or they become more asleep. So So I think that's where, and you can see it with all the polarization that's happening, as the awakening and more asleep kind of division.
Yeah, because I have heard people, even my husband, he's not awake at all. I tried, but he's not. So I'm like, I just shine my light, and one day he'll start to. And he was like, oh, I kind of think coronavirus is like a big reset. And I just looked at him, I'm like, what? Like, and he went, yeah, I think it's a big reset. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you've never said anything like that. And you are starting to hear other people say things like that. So yeah, you're right, like slowly happening.
Yeah, and then when you think about your awakening journey and my awakening journey, and you didn't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm going to buy from local businesses, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, it's a gradual process, and everybody's there to be the example to other people. I think the more you try and tell somebody this is how they should do something, the more resistant they're going to be to it. So it's just, if you go and be that person, like Gandhi's, the famous Gandhi quote is, be the change that you want to see in the world. So, and somebody had asked him what lessons he wanted to leave for the world, and he's like, my life is my lesson, because he is just acting out how he would like other people to act out, and some people will look at that and be inspired by it and do their version of it, and other people won't. Maybe in their next life they'll get
it. No, that's absolutely true.
Did you believe that you've been here before? Like, do you believe in reincarnations?
I do. Absolutely. Do you?
Yeah, I think I've been here many times before.
Yeah, because I do get quite a lot of kind of deja vu. And my, like, the girl I work with, Maria, she done a healing session on me, and she's seen, like, when she was working on me, I could see like loads of feathers, and she said that I was like a figure skater in a previous life, and I died from a head injury. And when I was born, I had like a strawberry birthmark on my head, because you know sometimes they say that if you've got a birthmark somewhere, that's where how you died in a previous life. So yeah, I do definitely.
And did she know that you'd had that strawberry birthmark?
No, because you can't see it anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So interesting. I just love all of that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I've been here before, but I have a strong feeling that this is my last time here. It's like, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, you'll be an ascended master. That's what I'm aiming for.
That's what I hope for. Please don't make me have to go through the next stage of this, please. I don't know if that's so much wishful thinking as it is an inner knowing. Oh my goodness. So so your Instagram account is the best place for people to find you. Because you've got a couple of accounts, which are both of them your business, or?
So it's at iamkaren.allan.
Yep.
On Instagram, and it's the same on Facebook.
Yeah, cool. So when people want to follow you and find out about any of the workshops that you've got coming up, or see your sharings on yoni eggs.
Yes, and there's lots more of that to come. So,
is there anything else that you want to talk about before we finish?
No, I think that's everything. I'm just really grateful to you for asking me to come on. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I've never met anybody that's experienced narcolepsy before, so it's always an education.
Yeah, no, I like talking about it because it's very difficult to diagnose, and yeah, not a lot of people know about it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, I hope that you continue to keep good health. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
well, thank you.